Hello and welcome. My name's Thomas, and today we are checking out the Razer Deathadder V4 Pro. While it may look the same on the outside, there is a lot of new tech under the hood that elevated an already S-tier mouse into the stratosphere. They essentially took everything that people were like, bro, dude, I would love this to be better, and they were like, bet, dude, let's do it. Unlike the refresh of the Logitech G Pro X Superlight 2, this is how you do it. Take note, Logitech. This was sent out for review, but that will not bias my opinion in any way. I would have bought it regardless, as if you've been following my channel for a while, I've ranked Razer's mice the best of the best for a few years now, and honestly, this is my favorite one yet. And I know I'm already laying it on thick, but it truly dethrones every other mouse I use when it comes to raw performance, and will take its place next to my Ultralight X and Viper Mini SE as the three mice I constantly rotate through. So without further ado, let's dive in. So a quick overview of this entire mouse, as this is a longer video and there is a lot to cover, as there is a ton of new stuff. This is the same beloved shape as the V3 Pro, but it's packed with upgrades. It's been slimmed down to just 56 grams, yet the chassis is 72% stiffer. It also features a new smooth touch finish, Gen-4 HyperSpeed wireless, brand new optical scroll wheel, the new Focus Pro 45K Gen-2 sensor, and Razer's 4th generation optical switches. They report 150-hour battery life, and it can be yours for an eye-watering $169.99 US. There are three main things that I think will make a lot of people either want to upgrade from their previous V3 Pro or any other type of mouse, as this guy is packing enough upgrades that it is the best mouse on the market and will be an upgrade from everything else on the market. As of this video, at least, I am confident that Razer will be bringing this tech to the rest of their lineup, although nothing has officially been announced as of July 10, 2025, but knowing them in 6 months, 12 months, you're going to see this come to the Viper series and so on and so forth, because that's just what they do, and we're okay with that. So, starting off with the coating. Razer finally got the coating right, which is immediately apparent when you first grab the device. Logitech in general has been killing that game with the kind of matte rubber plastic feel. The Deathadder V4 Pro now has essentially the same exact feel and texture, which I think is a win. It also does a good job at rejecting the oils from your skin. This is after a weeks of usage without cleaning, and it's pretty darn good. It's also very easy to wipe down, as the more you use it, the more the rubber gets a bit slick from the oils of your skin. So wiping it down returns it immediately to the rubber texture for excellent grip. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Second, Razer was the first to do optical switches. Now they are on Optical Mouse Switch Gen 4, which has been rebuilt from the ground up. Same 100 million click life cycle, no debounce delay, immune to double clicks, but now 12% lighter actuation force, and they report industry-leading click ratio. What does that actually mean? I don't know, but they say this leads to a crisp, clean, tactile feedback without mush or misfires, which is accurate and is a perfect summary for the rest of this section. I found Razer has had the best feeling optical switches, and these take it to the next level, especially after Logitech totally bombed theirs. I think they are my favorite feeling switch I've ever used. They have very low pre-travel, followed by a light but tactical click that is sturdy enough to not bottom out, with mild to moderate post-travel. They require a bit less than the Deathadder V3 to actuate. They are less loud than the Deathadder V3, but the same as the Viper Mini SE and G Pro Superlight 2, and quite a bit louder than the Finalmouse Ultralight X, Prophecy being the quietest clicks out of pretty much any of the gaming mice that I have. But annoyingly, and probably my biggest complaint of this guy, and nearly the only complaint that I have, to be completely honest with you, is the left click sounds drastically different than the right click, while still retaining that pingy or metallic tone. However, both of them feel the same, so it's one of those, this is just an auditory thing, and it doesn't affect performance at all, but the right click is especially egregious, which sucks, as it's a pinging machine, man. It's like, I'll try to do a sound clip. As the rest of it is ideal. I get essentially no wobble in the primary clicks, even with good pressure. Like, I have to really try, and even then, it's minimal, if at all. I'm tempted to say there's zero wobble, but I know someone out there with a macro lens will find a nanometer of movement and be like, bro, this dude's a liar. Can't take anything he says for truth, because there was clearly movement in that switch. In practical terms, it's flawless, extremely satisfies as I finally feel like optical switches have caught up with mechanical feel, while providing way better benefits of optical. I'd give them a 9.5 out of 10, as being quieter while still having the same great feel would make it a 10 out of 10. Moving on to the scroll wheel, which is the third main reason that I would upgrade. It's Razer's first optical scroll wheel. Same benefits as an optical switch, but now in a scroll wheel, of improved wear and tear, more accurate and consistent scrolling, and no ghost inputs or needing to put a debounce delay, which means everything's just a little more snappy, making it ideal for weapon switching, inventory management, and in-game zooming, which performs like a chef's kiss. It's perfect as pure uninterrupted signal clarity. I think if you've had problems with a scroll wheel in the past, looking at you, Logitech, you'll find this the biggest reason to upgrade, as just using it in Tarkov and other games where I do actually use it, it's been so flawless and accurate that it's hard to describe. Additionally, this change leads to a 3.3 times longer life cycle as no physical contact points. With the hype out of the way, this is the best scroll wheel on the market from an accuracy standpoint. It is incredibly responsive, and I have had zero issues with it. It's about as loud as any other, which is not that loud, and nearly the same tone going up as it is going down. I would say light to moderate pressure to move, more so than the G Pro X2, but about the same as the others, and by others, I am comparing directly to the Viper V3 Pro, the Viper Mini SE, the G Pro X2, the Keras 2 Ace, and the Deathadder V3 Pro, and the Ultralight X Prophecy. Except for the Keras 2, which is more of a moderate heavy feel and is quieter, which arguably are some of the best mice on the market right now. Middle mouse button is just right for my taste. Moderate pressure where you have to be intentional to press it, but isn't heavy enough that you have to really press it hard, but also doesn't accidentally flip to the next step, making it very accurate, along with having enough travel to know you did it without being too shallow or having too much travel. It's the Goldilocks. Probably mild to moderate distance overall in movement, similar to other Razer mice, but feels a bit more crisp. Whereas the G Pro X2 just feels kind of shallow and lackluster. But my favorite is still the Razer Viper Mini SE, but this feels a little more accurate and locked in. And the optical precision makes a huge difference for games. Normally I don't use scroll wheel for a lot of stuff because it's inconsistent, but with this, I haven't had any problems and don't mind using it. Last, the wheel is surrounded in rubber with notches for increased grip. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. Moving on, it also comes with a new dongle, which is the fourth reason why you might want to upgrade. This is labeled the Hemisphere dongle. This houses their HyperSpeed wireless Gen 2, which is quite the upgrade from the previous gen, and that's coming from the people who are leading the pack. It now has a stable weighted design, making it so it won't flip over and will will stay where you placed it. Previous one kind of flopped around like a wet noodle and drove me absolutely nuts sometimes. It was just like, just sit there, please. And it's like, no, I think I'm going to roll over. And it was annoying. Now those days are gone. As for aesthetics, people will either love it or hate it. Personally, I like it. Some of the idea behind it is to help maximize the antenna architecture, which features a bespoke high-profile antenna that is 30% higher than before for a stronger, more reliable signal, even in high-interference environments. I'm not in a LAN setting, but I've got a stupid amount of tech all around me, and in this very tiny single room, and have had zero issues. But besides the weight, the part that I like the best is actually the LEDs on the front. Them adding a bit of RGB to the Razer logo would have been really cool too, but maybe next time. But you have 3 LEDs, which in the stock configuration shows connection status, battery life, and polling rate. This allows you to immediately see if your connection is good, how much battery you have, along with the LED on the mouse, which still continues to tell you battery life as well, and with the ability to have different polling rates outside of game and inside of game triggered by full screen application. So if you're not in a full screen application, it'll be, say, at 1000 hertz. Then when you switch to a full screen application, usually a game, it'll switch to, say, 8000 hertz, which you can confirm on the dongle itself, which is really neat. You can also change what those show inside of Razer Synapse, which include off, battery level, connection quality, polling rate, and DPI stage. Moving on to the sensor, the thing that I obsess over, but many other people think is a waste of kill, because people for over a decade have been calling sensors flawless and overkill, and we don't need any better because we've already hit peak. And those people, I would say, are just underperforming. They don't know. See, I've disagreed with that statement, as we are not at 100% resolution accuracy and 0.1 nanosecond latency, which means we haven't made it yet. This now sports their new Razer Focus Pro 45K optical sensor Gen 2. You know it's something special when you run out of breath before you get to the end of the name. It boasts 45,000 DPI, 900 IPS, and 85G, and 99.8% resolution accuracy, which is insane and industry-leading by a lot, as the previous Focus Pro was the sensor to beat. Now with this, they can just lord it over even more of their competition, being like, you guys thought you were good, you couldn't catch us before, and now you really can't catch us. With this in mind, you can also match DPI with other mice. It is adjustable from 100 DPI to 45,000 DPI in 1 DPI increment. It supports dynamic sensitivity with 3 preset curves, or custom that you can make yourself, which I'll go over briefly in a bit. The biggest improvement, personally, is mouse rotation, allowing you to adjust to the perfect orientation for ideal horizontal swipes, cannot talk today, when tracking, along with the previous bells and whistles of asymmetric cutoff, where you can separate liftoff distance and landing distance with 26 granular levels, smart tracking, which maintains set distances across different surfaces for greater accuracy, and motion sync, which updates your PC's polling intervals for smoother, more consistent tracking. An important note here, other companies may claim to have the same sensor or a similar sensors, and while the technology is there, the software/firmware behind it is arguably even more important, and Razer absolutely dominates in this regard, and is a big reason why this is priced where it is at, as few others can perform with such tight margins as this can, and activate all of the features, because a lot of other mice might have it activated, but that doesn't mean that it's actually performing as well as you think it's performing. This leads me right into the new HyperSpeed Wireless Gen 2 as well. We are about to get really nerdy for a bit. We've already been kind of nerdy, and we're going to take it up to the next level, as again, this is a major reason why this mouse is #1 and also priced so high. If you don't care, you can absolutely skip this. Maybe I'll actually have timestamps in the little bar thing below me. Their Gen 1 HyperSpeed, along with Logitech's HyperSpeed, was the reason why we have Logitech's Lightspeed is the reason why we have so many amazing wireless mice on the market right now, and they paved the way. Now it's time for the next step, according to their marketing and from other objective results from other YouTubers that have fancier tech that makes it look like all of these claims are legit, along with my subjective feel, which I'll get to here in a minute. But it is designed for peak efficiency and speed. It is 63% more power efficient and delivers 37% less latency than the previous generation. Again, keep in mind, Razer was the best, and now even more so. It has more efficient data processing and faster, more stable data handling, which leads to smoother input transmission and more consistent performance under pressure. This leads to an ultra-low latency of 0.291 milliseconds, which was done in a controlled environment and peak performance, so you might get different situations in real-life numbers, but I think some of the other YouTubers were getting pretty close to that or better, so just keep that in mind, which beats their previous HyperSpeed wireless at 8,000 Hz, which they label was 0.461 milliseconds. So again, now the new is 0.291 milliseconds, and the competition was at 0.807 milliseconds at 8,000 Hz. Dang, that is impressive. Granted, we're talking less than a millisecond here, but still, these are crazy speeds, which then feeds into HyperSpeed polling technology. Many are not sold on this, reporting 1K feels no different than 2K, 4K, or 8K, but then I have an argument for them. Can you see more than 24 frames per second? I disagree, have disagreed since the beginning, but think it comes down to a lot of different aspects that we won't get into in this video. But the crux of the issue is this: higher polling rate means lower latency, period. Whether you can feel that or not is another discussion, but they report they have now unlocked the full potential of true 8,000 Hz polling. What I like about this is that you can now get 8,000 Hz polling or lower, both on wired and wireless. Previously, you could only do this on wireless. Now you can also do it on wired, which means the best of both worlds. Though the stock cable, due to compliance reasons of probably not wanting to, burn your house down, is a bit stiff and not ideal for wired gameplay. Anyways, this was engineered for consistency with improved data handling and signaling stability, making it the most reliable high-polling wireless experience ever. For those of you who have used higher polling rates, sometimes having a strong connection or drops can occur. I haven't noticed that here in my testing at all, and assuming the LED is accurate, my connection is almost always green. Sometimes it will dip into yellow when my mouse is a little too far away, or more importantly, when it's obstructed, which makes me think it is actually working the way that it's supposed to. Also, haven't had any disconnects, though it is early in testing, comparatively to the older tech, but promising and the best I've tried from other leaders in the industry, such as Razer, Finalmouse, and Logitech. In Razer Synapse, you have access to a smart polling rate switcher that allows the mouse to switch from a set polling rate, say 1,000 for desktop use and 8,000 during gameplay, which I discussed previously, which helps conserve battery life. Speaking of battery life, let's talk about that. It's pretty insane. It's great. They report 150 hours of continuous use at 1,000 hertz polling, 120 on some of the old boxes as they printed that before the new testing came in, and then they say 22 hours with 8K polling. So let's talk about my subjective feelings of the performance. All of that tech and attention to how it feels leads to a mouse that truly feels effortless to use. Essentially, everything makes you want to use the mouse as it just feels good. I have to nerd out on tech because, well, I'm nerdy, but also because I'm constantly chasing the feeling of when a product does just almost everything right and you just look forward to it and you just enjoy sitting down and experiencing it. And I want to see if that is placebo or not, so I tend to look at the technology to see if what I'm feeling is actually reasonable. This is one of those where the specs and the way it feels lines up and feels you with a sublime experience. I'm performing at my best and it takes less effort. This mouse just feels so good to use. The tracking is top notch, the latency is insane, the clicks great, shape great. They absolutely nailed it. They should be very proud of this mouse and the technology advancements that they've done, as this is everything that I wish the Superlight 2 would have been, but thankfully Razer still went out and outdid themselves and actually did a good job. This also was the same thing that I said when the original G Pro X came out and had the Lightspeed wireless. Actually, I think it was like the it was some weird shape, 902 or 900, the G900 or something like that was actually my first one. And then when Razer came out with theirs with the Viper. And anyways, I've said this multiple times, but the two companies that continue to impress me the most are Logitech and Razer. While I like Finalmouse, they just have never done it the same way as the other two companies. Anyways, done with that tangent, moving on to the shape and build quality. It has the same exact shape as the Deathadder V4 Pro, so if you like that, then you're going to like this one. It is a right-handed ergo shape, medium to large size, very comfortable, 56 grams. The weight balancing is so incredible that it actually feels significantly lighter than its 56 grams, almost comparable to my nimble feel of the 36-gram Ultralight X. They do report a sustainable design, meaning it is built with 90% post-consumer recycled materials and bio-based polyamide fibers derived from renewable sources like plants and castor oil. These are heavier while also being more brittle. It still has a 7% lighter chassis and up to 72% stiffer sidewalls. If I squeeze hard, I get a very mild flex, just like I do with every other mouse, but less with this one than I do with the previous V3 version and a lot less than a lot of other mice that I used. When shaking, I also hear nothing. Overall build quality is excellent. I have no complaints on this regard. Moving on to the side buttons. This time they are spaced out, as pro players tend to prefer that. I do agree. Easier to hit and more comfortable that way. Light actuation, which is just enough to need to be deliberate, but not so light you accidentally activate it. Mild pre-travel, mild/moderate post-travel, not very loud, and they are ideal. I have no complaints or problems here, just right. Moving on to the P, I'll keep this one short. Same old PTFE feet, high quality, cover more of the bottom than the last gen, rounded, but does not come with glass skates in the box nor a replacement, which is a bit of a bummer for the price, but you do get grips, which I don't really care about, so I couldn't tell you how good or bad they are. Moving on to the software version, this is for Razer Synapse 3. This is an area where that the newer mice from Razer have gotten a lot of things right by adding new things that their older gen mice don't have, which might kind of make you curious to open up that software if you do end up buying this type of mouse. You don't need it, but it does unlock a lot of potential. Not sure if I'm a fan of that, unless if it truly is a hardware limitation, because I'm not really sure why, say, my V3 Pro can do things that my Viper Mini SE can't, but I do understand that with the V4 Pro, there is actually new hardware here that does make it so you can't do it through through a software update. Anyways, getting out of that rabbit hole, Razer Synapse has improved a lot, but still is frustrating, but I like that it has more polish now, which doesn't mean it still doesn't lock up, crash, and give you the finger. But it has a ton of features, which helps make you spending that $169.99 feel like you're getting a bit more, as the sheer amount of options is impressive. As per usual, you can remap the buttons except left click. You can choose which LED is which on the Hemisphere dongle. Those options include off, battery level, connection quality, polling rate, and DPI stage. You can have up to 5 sensitivities from 100 DPI to 45,000 DPI and are adjustable in 1 DPI increments. Already discussed the polling rate, but 125, 500, 1000, 2000, 4000, 8000, both wired and wireless. You can calibrate your sensitivity to another mouse. You can select wireless power saving features that turns it on from 1 minute to 15 minutes of not like movement of the mouse, along with low power mode with 5% to 100%. You can enable or disable asymmetric cutoff, which allows you to adjust liftoff distance from 2 to 26 and landing distance from 1 to 25. If I knew the metrics for that, I would have said it. I have found this actually helps me be more accurate in games the lower I can go, but sometimes has problems on glass pads, making me so I have to raise it to the very max amount, and then even then, sometimes it feels like it doesn't track as exactly as I would like on a cloth pad. Don't know if other people have that feeling. Would love to know your opinion in the comment section down below. But I'm also undecided if that is a problem currently, as it doesn't seem like it, but at the same time it does, because like sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't, and it's not consistent, and then I'm like, is this just me smoking crack? And I don't know. So that's why I'm on the fence about it. There's a new thing called dynamic sensitivity that is not my jam. It's like a controlled mouse acceleration, but maybe more accurate, ? Not really sure. Where at certain speeds you can have slow movement, then with a fast swipe, very high movement, which could help in games where you have very slow movement for, say, like aiming, and then you need to do a quick 180. This would give you the best of both worlds. I'm kind of thinking also like a controller, how sometimes you have like your outer axes, you can move faster than your inner ones. I feel like it's something close to that. Again, not my jam, so I didn't test it out, as I don't want to get used to it and then have to get used to not using it, as I like the stock feeling through and through and don't want to change that. So for some, that could be neat. Anyways, last, there is something called rotation, which I think is brilliant. You can adjust according to your wrist. I found this actually makes horizontal tracking or going over words when reading a lot easier. If you're like me, you have a slight bend in your wrist most of the time when gaming, just because of those extreme movements of if you're somebody that uses your whole hands, so your fingers and then your wrist and then your forearm for big movements, sometimes that kind of having that degree off can help make things, smooth things out. So this compensates for that, and I really like it, and I found that my aim is slightly better. Is it that much better? No, but it's one of those that I like. Anyways, running out of time for my camera, so moving on to the conclusion, this mouse easily dethrones the rest of the competition by a comfortable margin, and in my opinion, and probably objectively, is the best mouse on the market as of July 10th. But no matter how objectively good a mouse is, it still has subjectivity, as shape is subjective, right? The shape, while I like it is a lot and perform wonderfully with it, is not my ideal shape or size. I wish I could put it all into either the Ultralight X or Viper Mini SE, but alas, I cannot. And if you are one of those who does not like the shape, then you'll have to wait until they update the rest of the lineup, which I'm sure they will do here, like I said earlier, in 6 months to a year for the Viper and so on and so forth, as that's what they've always done. But yeah, this thing absolutely rocks. I think the only complaints I could come up with is the price, the clicks being a ting house, and them using the same shape. Admittedly, these are pretty minor complaints in the grand scheme of things. Let me know if you'd like a direct comparison to another mouse or mice, or if you have any questions, as the comment section down below has got you. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a dislike. And of course, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more like this. Otherwise, God bless and peace out.